we're all racers. We all are looking for, like, we put a sticker on our cart and we tell our kids it's worth 2/10. Or we make the adjustment. It's always the standard in racing. It's worth 2/10. But we know we get up to a certain point when we adjust chassis, when we get with the drivers, when we sit down and really try to look at every component to racing. We understand it's a series of quarter percents. Think about it. If you're Indianapolis 500, if I could find 0.75% there, and the average speed was 220, I'd be almost 2 miles an hour faster than everybody else on the track. I'd stop and have a hamburger halfway through, and then we'd continue on. Or in the dirt, you guys are racing sprint. I come from a background of sprint as well, but it's on the asphalt side. A little about me. I grew up in a machine shop. My dad was building engines for Laguna Seca and Sears Point at the time. I guess it's changed 18 times, but dirt track, pavement. We had, my brother and I, the standing joke was we would just take a little grease and put it across our lip, and that was our mustache at 5 years old, because I think we were boring engines when we were 10 or 11. So a big background in it. I loved it so much that I wanted to get our son involved with racing. And it was more just so he had a sense of responsibility. Say, this is your project. I used to give him like a little airline check-off list. These are your responsibilities, and these will be my responsibilities. Let's make this a team and make sure it happens. So, now there's a lot of things in racing, but the biggest component is how do we enjoy success at the end of the day, or at the end of the night. And our thought, and some people that we race with, it was really pretty simple. We're going to outwork people, we're going to outthink people, and we're going to out-prepare people. And when I say those three, we had a rule book that we needed to follow, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure Friday night, before we got ready to roll someplace on Saturday, I'd make 8 laps around that cart. And I'd be looking at every bolt, everything. Because when we show up on Saturday and we're trying to put stuff together, we're probably behind the curve. And the biggest thing that we can do is prepare. And what I want to share with you guys today are some of the preparations that you can do on engine. I won't get into the chassis and the driver stuff. You guys understand the importance to that. The engine, a little history on this engine. This is the 5th generation of this motor. Briggs and I started working together. David Klaus, David is the director of motorsports for Briggs Racing. Interesting concept. That engine right there, out the door, costs them about $415. They're selling it wholesale for about $435. Not a lot of money in it. They sell parts and they're doing their thing. And the coolest thing about Briggs Racing, and again, I'm not an employee. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where Dave flies me around the world doing tech work for him. Whether it be in Canada, the US, or maybe Mexico or someplace else, it's looking after his badge. His responsibility to Briggs and Stratton Corporation, a multi-billion-dollar company, his responsibility is not to make a nickel with this engine package or any of the other ones. It's promotions. So that's why he comes to people like Ali or Lowell or QRC or anybody else, or ultimately, and I got to touch on this, ultimately the racer. He comes to you guys and they don't need to make a nickel, but they want to promote their brand, and that's the way that they do it. So Dave's quick to say, the money that I'm making on parts, I think he went, correct me if I'm wrong, RJ, but I think he went through you guys, and for the first X amount of people that bought engines got free entries.
Yes.
Okay, and that came from Briggs. Briggs, cool. Selling engines, let me help with that. David Klaus hates it when I call him. Him and I talk 3 or 4 times a week because he knows every time I pick up the phone it's going to cost him $3,000 here or $5,000 there. But the coolest thing about it, it all goes back to the racer. He's been burned before by giving away some generators to certain promotions around the country, and that ends up going in a truck and going home to somebody, and it didn't make it to the racer. So the promoters might not like me to say this, but it's the harsh truth. When we start making an effort, when I try to make an effort to help you guys out, the second priority is really what the promoter gets out of it. It all goes back to you. If you guys come up to me and say, this would be really cool, how do we do this? Share it with me. Let's try to do it. Let's find a way to make your experience at the track as good as it can be. We want the kids to be smiling. We want to see high fives at the end of the night. We're going to do our part. When I say our part, I'm speaking on behalf of Briggs, to make sure that your experience at Cycleland or at Red Bluff from a tech standpoint is as good as it can be. And my promise to you is that it's never Dan's opinion or maybe somebody else's opinion, but it is the rule book in which we follow. I had, you guys, I don't want to get into the details, but I had some grandparents come up to me after the Kyle Larson event, and they weren't happy with me. I was the guy that disqualified their grandson. And I said, with all due respect, no, I wasn't. I said, walk with me for a minute, let's look at the rule book together. And let's read the rule book together. The rule book clearly stated what you can and cannot do. And when we were done, it was clear. The grandfather said, Helen, I think was his wife's name. Helen, we don't have an argument here. The rule book says you can't. And again, it wasn't my opinion. What I'll do is I'll show up at any race that I go to, and Cycleland won't be this complex, but I'll pass it around. I want you guys to see. Any race that we go to, there'll be a tech sheet. That's an old one for another engine package, but there'll be a tech sheet. It's going to be prepared in advance. It's going to be 1 through 10, 1 through 15, maybe 1 through 25 of the items that I'll be checking. And it's for your benefit, because people say, is this a wild goose chase? No, really it's not. This is what we plan on doing. Usually 1 is more in depth, 2 is a little bit softer, 3 is a little softer, 4 and 5, they're going to be held over there in the staging area, and to see if in fact, if somebody falls out, we'll introduce them to what's going on. So again, either whether it's a national race, a regional race, or just a whole bunch of fun doing something at the club level. So with that said, nobody's here. I want to prove every racer right. That is my responsibility. I want to prove everybody here right that they did it the right way. But I need the rule book to back that up. And I'll share these words with you, and I promise I won't dwell on it. The most important thing that I want to do today is educate you guys so you can get the most out of an engine. And I think I'm in a position to speak pretty clear on that, on what on how to make that happen. The most out of the engine. If there's somebody else that says, hey, I know something. Guys, you're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice. If somebody says, one of your friends says, I know how to do this or I can do that, my first question is always, do you know the rule package that we're running? If they don't know the rule package, don't walk from them, run from them. Because there was an issue up in Canada. Mr. Klaus calls up and says, hey, can you be here for a 3-day weekend? This is when the Reading fire started. I'm on a plane on Friday morning and houses are burning all around. My wife's looking at me like I'm crazy, but they had an issue, and will you come up and help to solve it? So when the Canadian Nationals came around, we didn't have DQs, we didn't have problems, we set the tone in advance. So that's what we want to do with you guys. We want to make sure that you guys understand what the rules need to be, and most importantly, you can extract every last ounce of power out of this engine. And stay away from the DNFs. You know, because if something happened, something along that line, I think we can help you through that. So with that said, a chain of custody, we'll call it. If that's your engine and somebody wants to work on it, first question I'm asking them, make sure you understand the person that's working on it understands the rules. If they don't, find somebody else. I'll leave you with my number. If you guys want some numbers, I quit working on them a while ago because I don't want to create a conflict of interest, but I get 15 telephone calls a week from people like yourself that say, hey, Dan, this is my problem. I'm having this kind of issue. I'd love to talk you through it, and I'll be glad to share my number with you and make myself available. It's that important to Briggs, and it's that important to me that you guys have a great experience. So we want to make sure that that happens. So to start, let's take everybody get a sheet of paper on what we're reviewing. If not, let me start over here, and you guys can grab one and pass them around.
If anybody needs a chair, these ones are available.
Sure. We've got one paper going that way. Here's another one going the other way. If you want to see some of the tests that we'll do, that's national level stuff, but some of that will be part of the club level stuff, or I should say the winter series for you guys. Let's talk about break-in. Everybody's got a secret remedy. Everybody's got a I know this or I know that, or if you add this additive or that additive. Briggs has done a ton of work in testing because they're always looking for improvements on that top ring seal. Bottom line is it takes them about 4 hours of running to get that top ring to seal as good as it can possibly be. So if somebody says, well, I broke this thing in, I did it in 20 minutes, go get them, go have fun. I would tell you, run it and it's only going to get stronger. 2 reasons. The way a ring is made, there's a fair amount of tension in that thing. Tension is friction. Canadian Nationals back in August up there. Guys, they love to put engine hour meters on them. Most of the engines I saw in first, second, third had 30 to 40 hours on them. So if somebody tells you, you know what, that engine's getting a little bit soft, you got a season on it, these guys are running theirs for 2, maybe 3 seasons, and they're running a lot. It will only get stronger. You can't hurt that bottom end with a 6100 limiter. You cannot hurt it. Break it in and run it till you get all you can out of it. But I got to tell you, if you can't get 2 seasons out of bottom end, and somebody says, well, that's going soft, you might want to go to plan B, I'd tell them to give me a telephone call. What I would do is a leak down test you can do, and chances are that's not the case. The more you run it, the better the ring's going to seal, and the less tension will be in the rings, and it will be freer all the way through. Resistance robs horsepower, especially in low horsepower applications. So, break-in procedure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new engine. First thing, again, I got to put engine oil in it. Briggs, what they'll do is they'll put it on the dyno. Every engine that they produce gets 30 weight oil. They put it on the dyno. They run it through. They're putting fuel in it as well. They're running it for about 3 minutes to make sure that it's right, and then they'll drain the oil, drain the fuel, put kerosene in there. It has a strong smell in the carburetor sometimes, and then they're sending it to you. You have to put oil in it. Got a call from Southern California a couple days ago. I started it up and it seized up on me. I said, what happened? He said, well, I don't know. I said, you put oil? He said, no. I said, okay. So it was a bit of a no-brainer how that stuff happens. So got 14 to 16 ounces of oil. If you want to go out and qualify with 12, you're going to roll the dice. Don't roll the dice that way. It's not worth it. Windage in the bottom of an engine, it's just not worth it. 14 ounces minimum, 16 maximum. The engine will puke out what it doesn't like out that top tube. It will get rid of it. If you see oil coming out of that, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but if you see more oil coming out of that, you can run for an evening or a weekend on that oil. You're not going to have a problem. But the cheapest insurance you can find, a good synthetic oil. There's something called 4T that Briggs aligned with AMSOIL on, good stuff. There's other oils as well, oils to stay away from. I know we're recording this and I'll probably get shot, but Royal Purple. I've seen it destroy more engines with Royal Purple than any other brand. I'm not saying it's a bad oil, but it's made for a pressurized system.